Good evening, viewers. Thanks for watching. We're just getting ready. We're setting up here, getting our speakers ready. This is the first show we've had, People's Platform, where we've invited the public to come forward and share their concerns. So there's no answers for us to give. It's just a People's Platform to share your concerns. You can also call in anonymous. You can send a text to 902-305-7833. So my name is Rebecca. I'm with Ripple Effects Canada, and I'm honored to have you on with us this evening. Thank you for watching, and thank you for engaging with us. We'll just give it a moment here. I'm just getting some texts with our guest speakers. I notice we have one on, and I have a very brave gentleman coming on that was learning it for the first time here. So I want to thank him for coming on. Let's just make sure that we've got everyone. Hello, Margie McNeil. Let's see who we have on here. If you're watching, pop in the comments hello, where you're watching from. Hello, Ray Guthrow, Paul McDonald, Gary Hunter, Terry Butts. And we're going to be talking tonight to three people from Cape Breton Island. We're going to be talking to the previous warden of Île-Madame, Victor Allen David. And I've had the honor of speaking with Victor several times over the year here as I've gotten settled in Île-Madame. Wonderful person with some great insight, on what's been happening and everything in the past couple of years in this little town and fishing village and the island surrounding. So I'm happy to have him on. We also have an anonymous boat owner tonight, an anonymous fisher gal who it took me quite a while to see if she wanted to come on, but she's going to come on and express her concerns. No names required, and you can do that with Ripple Effects. You can come on and share your concerns. So pleased to have her come on aboard. And then our last guest speaker is Jenny Lee from CBU University. Now, Jenny has an intriguing concern. Right now during COVID, we know that all of us, there's so many unanswered daily changes in just speaking with everyone that's taking frontline leadership and families abroad, everywhere, the world. We're so unaware of the changes that come every day. Well, for international students, there has been a benefit put out for university students, but they're still waiting to see what lies ahead for international students. So we're going to have Jenny Leon speaking on behalf of the Vietnamese community tonight from Cape Breton University. So let's get this show started. Brian Morgan from Glace Bay is watching. Patricia Ann Walker. Hello, Nancy Wadden. Hello, hello. Looks like Victor might be having a little bit of difficulty. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to bring on our guest speakers. There we go. Jenny. Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
You can hear me. You can hear me okay?
Yeah. Totally.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm just going to bring on our other guest speaker. There we go. We've got our anonymous fisher gal there. I'm just going to mute your line until we have you come on here. All right. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Well, you know what? I can't complain. The weather is a little off today, but I'm very grateful for a few things that are happening and taking place, in Cape Breton especially. I love living in Cape Breton, and I know you do too, and you came here to go to university from Vietnam. You're speaking on behalf of the Vietnamese community tonight. So do you want to just let us in, Jenny, on what the concerns are of the youth that you're speaking on behalf of and the petition actually that you've brought forward to sign?
So I'm Jenny, and so I'm representing for the Vietnamese students, like at CBU right now, and during this time, I understand that many people are struggling, and we're all in this together. And not only for Vietnamese students, also for international students, many people are having a lot of difficulties during this time. One of the biggest problem that I found it's about traveling. Since people usually have to travel from home to work, or even from like Canada back to their home country. Right now, the flights are all stopped and then cancel cancellations and delays are taking place a lot. So many of my friends are not being able to go back home, and also all the border restricts it's in place. So that's some restrictions that not allowing students, international students, to travel back home. Um, and also that can cause many stress because people are planning to move back home or moving out since the contract of accommodation is now over, and we all understand that we cannot go out at this time and try to stay home as much as we can, and moving can be a big stress since you have to put a lot of stuff outside, moving a lot outside, and then get used to a new place. um, Another thing would be, I would say international students who live here for years would not have as much of a problem compared to students who just get here for 1 or 2 months. I would say it's a very hard time for them at this point when they're away from their family and friends, and they have not get as much connections as they supposed to do. So they're pretty much isolated. So that can add up to their mental health, as well as some source of getting food or any things that can help them feel better, that they don't feel like they're all by themselves. Another thing I would say is about the jobs. Like many people, not only international students but also Canadians, we all get laid off, and many of us are working from home. But many people are like seasonal workers, or people are planning to get summer jobs. Right now, summer jobs and all the others are kind of stuck, so there's no jobs, and there's really limited and lack of that. Many people are planning on doing internship, especially for the students who are in hospitality and tourism. I'm taking courses in there, so I can feel this pain when people are getting like their offers now on hold or canceled, so they cannot work, and that can lead to like the living expenses now no longer being covered by that, and it can be a hard time for them as well. So I found that many students who are no longer can take a job during the summer decide to go online and do their studying. But the environments is kind of hard for them, allowing them to study, because the quality can be changed. I found it's really hard to just stay in room and then do the studying. It's kind of just like the four wall. You feel like you're stuck in there, and it's hard to focus. And also, like when we're stuck in your house, you cannot make connection with teachers and your friends. You're losing lots of connections, and it's hard to get people to know you better. So that can reflect on how people assessments with their schoolwork. Yeah, that's some of the things that I would want to share with you. And like the Vietnamese society, we're thinking of some way to try to help with the problem. So we have assigned petitions that we just put up. Yeah. And then it's basically we want to like raise an awareness that if it's possible to reduce the tuition fee for students, since we move online, as well as now all the summer courses no longer offer in-person classes, but on the online basis, as well as extending the student relief fund to all students, because it's only limited to people who are working, and people who are losing jobs. Mm-hmm. It's now losing their opportunities because they don't have money and they don't have the access to any helps. So that can be a real struggle for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Jenny, I took a couple notes, and are you saying that the cost of tuition and schooling hasn't come down at all? It's still the same cost, even though you're taking more online courses?
What I'm seeing right now, it's I just register for my summer courses, and all the costs for campus and stuff is still there showing up on my account. So I would say there's nothing changed yet. And also for the Student Relief Fund,
Yep.
the application was closed on Thursday, but we haven't received any announcement for who's eligible, who's can receive that yet. So we haven't got a result yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is good that you had an opportunity to come on and share this, because I wouldn't have known all these details had I not spoke to you one-on-one earlier today, and also some friends of yours, and then now tonight. So thank you for bringing this to the platform. I want to put the petition you have in the link. So maybe when you pop off the panel, if you could post the petition in the comments.
Yeah, I can do that.
That would be great. Yeah, and that way people, our viewers, can actually go to the petition and support it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity because I believe that, like myself as an international student, we don't know who we can get assessed for help, and this is a great opportunity when we can speak up and then let people know like some of our struggles. I definitely receive a lot of message because many students that I get in touch, and people are saying there's much worse scenario when people are now very stressed out of their graduations, and also they don't have any place to, like, they're gonna have to move out soon and they can't find a place to live and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
There's a lot of anxiety, and I can understand that. And if you were my daughter, I speak as from a mother's point of view, I would want to know how you're doing. So definitely please keep us posted.
Yes, we keep like we usually do some shows on like our Vietnamese Society page just to keep people active. Like we have some funds together, we have some talk shows and stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Well, anything you want to share with us, please feel free to do so, and we'll get the word out for you. And I want to thank you tonight for doing that. Is there any closing words, Jenny, that you want to end off with before you close off?
I would say thank you so much for giving me this opportunities to speak up for me and also all my friends and all the people that I know that in this struggling. And I understand that everyone's struggling through this together. And thank you for supporting me and also Rebecca and this channel. And I think this is really great what everyone's doing, and keep people knows about like what's happening around and what locals are doing. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I know that Cape Breton University, the students bring a lot of good to the economy as well in Cape Breton, and we a lot of workers in Cape Breton, and I've met so many wonderful students this year. So thank you for bringing your best to the island and for also enjoying the best of the island.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, see ya. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that was Jenny
Bye-bye.
Lee from the Vietnamese community at Cape Breton University out of Sydney, Cape Breton Island, Nova Scotia. So the next person I'm going to have on tonight, is anonymous. Again, Ripple Effects gives that an anonymous platform that you can share your views and expressions. And viewers, if you're watching from anywhere, outside of Atlantic Canada, so what we have going on right now is such a complex situation with a lot of, dynamics and logistics that people are trying to sort through. And one of those industries that's really being hit hard right now is the lobster industry. And I've got to admit and be transparent, had I not spent as much time in the last couple of weeks getting to know and talking with so many fishermen, I don't think I would have had a clue. Because to be honest, I don't really spend a lot of time learning about lobster on my off time. And for myself personally, with a big family, it's not something that we purchase unless it's a treat. If I take the kids out for dinner, there's some lovely restaurants in Cape Breton Island, and that's the one thing we look forward to in the summer is going for our big lobster feast, maybe right even on the beach. So, without getting into my personal questions and so forth, I just want to bring on this voice so that she can express her concerns, and I really want to commend her. I don't have a name for her. She's taken a lot of time to put together, compose what she has to say tonight. So thank you so much. And I'm going to open it up here to our Fisher Gal. Fisher Gal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Rebecca. How are you?
Good, thank you. I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And just talk to me like we're having coffee or tea. and let our viewers know what you've been, what everyone on, kind of from a whole, context, the context of what's been going on as a boat owner and as a fisherman for family heritage fishermen.
Well, from my own point of view, it's almost like I'm waiting for a storm to hit, an execution. It's like we're just waiting because we don't know if we're going fishing, and if we do go fishing, how much in the hole will we be when we're done fishing? There's not too many fisher people that starts their season without owing any money. You need to have your boat repaired. You need your supplies. You need your traps. You need your ropes. Everyone's in the hole. This year, I can see us being in the hole even worse when the season is over, if we go fishing. It usually takes a few weeks by the time anyone even comes out of the hole on a good year. That means the price is up. The markets are there. There's no markets, so we've heard. The price is going to be low.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way anyone can afford to go fishing. Add in the virus. Will you even have a crew to go fishing? It might only be one person on the boat, and that might be yourself if you own the license.
Mm-hmm.
So my pros and cons this year so far is cons.
Yeah. Then that was going to be my question, Fisher Gal, is what are the pros and cons? Like what you're kind of caught, my understanding is, between choosing. What brings that to the table? Why are you caught between choosing? Why isn't it an easy decision? There must be some things, a lot of things to weigh out at the end of the day.
There is. Number one would be myself and my crew's health. I mean, we're working close quarters aboard a boat. That's number one. Small communities, we all have families. And then there's also, we might get fishing for a week, maybe 2 weeks. What happens if there's no market whatsoever for the lobsters? What do we have left to fall back on? We have no guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, lobsters.
I know before we came on, I know before we came on, we were talking about some numbers just to make it easier. I know I'm a numbers gal, so if you talk to me in numbers, sometimes I get a better sense of what I'm looking at. And, do you mind if I share those numbers that we were talking about?
Go ahead. And again, they're
rough
only
cost,
vague numbers.
Yeah, vague, very vague. But like to run 2 crews, one on the wheel, one on 2 traps, you're easily looking at, just for the crew on the traps, $3,500 a week. Your bait, 300 pounds at $1 to $1.25. And was that a week you're going through 300 pounds? Fuel, $1,500 a week.
No, a day.
There's this concept, a day. There's this perception sometimes that you were mentioning that the outside viewers might think, well, lobster fishermen, they have it made. It's quite a wealthy industry. And do you want to explain how the ebbs and flows of that business structure goes with lobster fishing, the demand and supply? How does that kind of put it into perspective for us, how that goes with, money-wise?
Well, the last number of years, we've gotten roughly about $6 a pound for lobster. That's been quite high in my years of fishing. I know when my father fishing, it was way lower.
Yeah.
But you need a good price for your lobster, and you need your market, enough to get through. You pay your crew, you pay your bills, you get a few bucks in the bank, hopefully, to get you through until next season.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite sayings is, I live to fish and I fish to live.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to bring to the table?
If we go fishing this year, all I can see is we're going to set ourselves up for failure. We're going to go back that many years. It'll take us years to get built back up to where we are last year. If we let it go a year, we go back fishing lobster next year, there'll be more lobsters. Probably the markets will be back. Our prices will be up. Not only that, the whales will repopulate. We won't have to worry about marking our ropes any more than what we had to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Hope all we can do is hope for.
Because wasn't there a ban? Wasn't there some sort of ban or something, restrictions put on? I vaguely remember something about whales a couple months back.
We had to do all of our lobster ropes with 3 different types of colored twine intermingled with the rope, each rope.
And that was to, what was that for again, Fisher Gal?
To protect the whales, I presume. The same as our crab ropes and probably the dragger ropes or whatever else is going on there.
Well, and there's no denying that in the fishing industry, safety is #1 priority. We've seen a lot of programs put out for safety. I mean, previous to COVID, we've seen a lot of really good landmark programs. I just saw one of the gentlemen from the associations in one video the other night. So there's no denying that safety in the fishing industry is definitely important. I mean, number one. But this is a complex situation. And so what you're telling me is they've, great initiatives with the whales, but here we are sending our fishermen out on the water, and there's just as much, if not more, concern about how they're going to fare and how safe they're going to be.
Exactly. Somebody told me something like, saved a whale and killed a fisherman.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder.
Well, yeah. Well, we definitely can't lose you guys. That's not, that's why we have you on tonight, is to definitely give this a platform for, some explaining for just there were so many things that were confusing to me, and I'm finally starting to make sense of a few things. So it's really intriguing to listen to, your perception of what's happening. We just got a couple comments from our viewers. If a whale becomes entangled, the colors determine. Oh, okay, that was Nancy Wadden. Determine what area the entanglement happened. Gotcha. Exactly. Josephine Kennedy says, need Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is to fish. Plan B is to have a package in place to support harvesters, crew, wharf, and plant workers. Currently, DFO has postponed Gulf to May 15th. Why? There will be many LFA zones opening at the same time, so you're glutting the market.
Exactly. No market, no price, lower price.
Right. And if it drops, so if the price drops real low, what happens next year?
If it drops real low, there's going to be a lot of people in bad position if they're going to keep fishing going into hole each week. Like, I don't know any business personally that would keep on doing their business knowing they're going to go into hole every single week.
Yeah.
Unless you have money to throw away.
Right. It's like the numbers aren't lining up. They're not making sense yet.
Exactly.
We hope that, there's going to be some. Okay. All right. Well, what I'm going to do, all I can do obviously is all we can do is share this platform. So viewers, if you want to hit share or hashtag replay in the comments, if you watch this later when we're over with, the more obviously noise that we can get out there, the better. I'm also going to send a copy of the show because our local MP Mike Kelloway always is inquiring about the shows, if not watching them. So I'm going to send a copy to Mike. And also I'm going to see if he can forward a copy of the recording or the show to the minister, Bernadette Jordan. And let's see if we can keep this conversation going. I mean, there's no harm in that, is there?
No. And one thing with Cape Bretoners, we're stubborn.
Yeah. Well, I really want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And we've got a couple other comments just before we go. We have about 2 minutes here before we close. Brian Higgs just suggested canceling lobster season. Danelda McCaskill, Minister Jordan said that lobster is a high source of protein. The freezers are full of processed frozen crabs, so why hasn't that been sent to the grocery stores before? It will be outdated or freezer burnt. If they had been done, they would have had a lot of freezer space for this season and wouldn't have needed the huge funding announced the other day. And Natasha Burke, it seems like the Minister of Fisheries and DFO wants to see the demise of the lobster fishing industry. Okay, well, there we've got some comments on the side, some different thoughts and opinions to take a look at. Thank you, viewers, very much. Feel free to put your, we always highlight reasonable and relevant comments. I'm looking to see if there's any more comments here that we might have missed. But feel free to put your comments in here even after the show is over. Oh.
One other thing, I think the reason the fishermen are scared is if we say, no, we don't want to go fishing, give us a package. We don't know what the package could be.
Yeah.
We need something reasonable,
right,
enough to at least survive. We're not asking for the world. We want enough to survive until next year. Hope for a better year.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them. I'm in the same boat. Do I say yes or no?
Yeah. So was there a letter you wanted to read just before we went? I know there was a letter you had read earlier that you composed, took a lot of time to compose. Would you like to read that?
I'll read it. Okay, as a lobster license holder, this is what I'm worried about. There's not too many fisher people to start off the season without owing a bill for supplies to get their boat and gear in the water. So everyone is in the red before they even haul their first trap. But we always hope for a good season with a good price to get caught up. We all know there's a slim to no chance of that even being a possibility this year. Without a market for the lobster, plus a low price, we're setting ourselves up for a complete failure. If you didn't owe money before the season, you sure will afterwards. I want to fish. I live to fish. But I also have to weigh the pros and cons. And right now, the cons are winning, sadly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fisher Gal from Cape Breton Island. And we're just going to take you off the screen here. I want to thank all of our viewers for watching this evening. Coming up shortly in a few moments is local MP Mike Kelloway. And feel free to pop on and join us again. We're just going to close this show and we'll just stand by. We'll be back on shortly. So welcome back to the show. This evening I have on our local MP Mike Kelloway, who has been kind enough to come on Mondays lately and kind of just touch base with us, let us know if there's any updates. So I'm just going to connect him to the screen here and bring him on. Give me a second here. There we go. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Good. The weather was not the greatest today in Ilmadam, but I hear that there's sun coming on Wednesday and Thursday, so I'm happy about that.
Well, I've also heard that there's a heavy snowfall warning. Sorry to burst the bubble.
We won't talk about that.
I'm so sorry for all the viewers out there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, even if the snow comes, it'll melt. It'll go away.
That's right. That's right. So listen, I heard through the grapevine you're quite the history buff. You enjoy history.
I do. I enjoy history. I tend to read a lot and listen to music and run. I'm a boring guy. But those are the kind of things I do to well, not lately. Not in the past 6-7 weeks. But predominantly, yeah. A bit of history and biographies, things of that nature.
Is there any particular parallel stories in history? I know this is a weird and awkward question, but is there any parallel stories in history that comes to mind that leaves you with a sense of, I don't know, sense of clarity or enlightenment with what we're going through right now? Anything parallel in history? I can't think of anything, Mike, and so that's why I'm leaning on you to kind of think of.
Yeah, well, I mean, the closest thing, at least to a pandemic that we've had like this in recent times, well, you have SARS and you have more modern viruses, but the impact of the Spanish flu in 1918 was, I think, similar in scope than what we find ourselves now. And the interesting thing about that particular virus is that it had a punch for a year, like it was really strong for the year, and but then it did linger in 1919 and 1920. So that impacted the world. It was a world pandemic. So very similar to now. And then if you think about the impact of the virus and the similar kind of sentiment is kind of harkens to, at least in part, to what our great grandfathers or grandmothers or grandfathers would have experienced in WW2 in terms of making sacrifices for the community, industry pooling its resources together to fight a common enemy. In World War II, it was the Axis powers, and now it's COVID-19. So you see the business community, you see not-for-profits, you see all levels of government getting behind forces for good. In this case, it is getting behind trace testing. It's getting behind, testing itself and the pursuit of a vaccine. In our own area, we've seen companies looking to transform their distillery into a hand sanitizer location. A local manufacturer is playing a fundamental role with companies in the United States in Cape Breton to develop ventilators. And the list goes on. So you see a lot of similar similar outcomes, sadly, from viruses in war, but you also see similar calls to arms among the general public to help, whether it's frontline workers or whether it is just individuals that may not be frontline workers but are doing their bit in terms of reaching out to those that are more vulnerable during these times to ensure that they're okay. So it's this sense of community that tends to emerge out of crisis, no matter if it's in World War I, II, Korea, or now. My understanding too, and it's an interesting stat, and I caught it last night, and this is an American stat, but I think they're at about 52,000 people that have succumbed to the virus in the United States, which is more than, if I'm not mistaken, Vietnam, Korea, World War I, and the American Revolutionary War. They didn't include World War II because there were obviously heavy casualties rather there. So you get a sense of the breadth of this this virus and its impact. And but I look at the other side of it in times of crisis. We've said this before on this show. Is people show the best of themselves during this time. Yeah, we do see certain people that will neglect social distancing, self-isolation, but the majority of the people that we see in our communities are really stepping up to the plate rather, and that's impressive, and it gives you a sense of pride. And there will be a time when we come out of this, and my hope is that we do not forget that whole sense of community that brought us together at this point after COVID.
Yeah. I was just going to say that is watching everyone come forward and hoping that this is instilling some values that communities need to thrive forward. So
absolutely.
Now, how are you doing? Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay in our Wi-Fi, so I'm not talking over top of you. I just think there's a bit of distance. How about time management? I know you're also, worked in the education field, and you've been a kind of a lifestyle coach in some things. What about time management right now? Even though it feels like, do you have any tips for that? Like, what's kind of your day routine? I understand you like exercise, and you're making sure to give time to that. Do you have any generic tips that are working for you under the copious amount of stress that we're all under?
Well, yeah, I think for me, to try to get a run in at least 3 or 4 times a week is important to me, not just for my physical health, but my mental health, and now more than ever. And I'll just, it's a 6K run around the neighborhood, and then it's back. And the times vary because my day will start. I get up at 6, have a cup of coffee, watch the news, reflect on the day, and then 7:30 comes, and we're in it. And then I'll go to about noon, because everything is so compact now. I'll try to get 15 minutes to have a cup of coffee and something nutritious. Sometimes I don't listen to my brain that tells me to get something nutritious, and I'll get whatever is close by. Just cut that one out, edit that one out. But then, it's the evening, and then I try to find time, try to find 40 minutes in my day. And some days it's better than others, but I try to find 40 minutes a day to go for that run to clear my head. And then, when you're ready to go to bed, I try to, quite honestly, not watch the news. I watch it early in the morning. I'm up to date throughout the day, and I find if I go to bed watching the news at say 11:30, I'm an insomniac by my very nature. I've been an insomniac since grade 1, so I have to try to kind of shut my brain down, which is a bit of a process. And I know there's a lot of jokes out there right now going, "What brain do you have to shut down?" But I do. I have a brain. I swear to God. And it's that process. So I try to, especially during these times, but actually any time, is try to find some time in the day, and you can't every day. I know I'm the same way. Try to, like, 3 or 4 times a week to incorporate at least 40 minutes of walking. Doesn't have to be running. Back in the day, we used to go to a thing called gyms, but not so much now. But walking, or after the snowfall tomorrow, that it'll melt on the following day, and get out and do some yard work and kind of get that fresh air into your system. But it's I tried, and I'm a very honest person. What you see is what you get. For me, it's a challenge to try to get balance, and it's just because of I like to say it's the nature of the work. But when I worked at the Nova Scotia Community College, and anybody that worked with me and knows I'm a bit of a workaholic, and my wife certainly knows I'm a workaholic, and God bless her. And thank you, Catherine, she's upstairs. But I try to recharge my batteries by running and getting that fresh air in the lungs. Put the music on. Sometimes I will jog to a book. Sometimes I will jog to a particular item that I need to be briefed on for Parliament, and it's just a way to work through things. And I find running particularly good for working out issues and problems that I may be facing at work and trying to work through it. So those are the type of things I do. Everyone has their own, way of doing it, but for me, it's that. And to be honest with you, it's I'd say the past 7-8 weeks, it's been pretty much a full court press, 7 days a week, and so even more of a reason to find that time to, and it varies. I've went for a run at 7 in the morning, 7 at night, and then get a quick shower and take the next call. So do what you can, to unwind. And like I said last week too, there's an opportunity for people to, reach out to your friends or colleagues that you haven't seen in a while, just to check in with them on the phone or Skype or whatever the case may be. This past Friday night, we had a little family reunion with some of my wife's family via Skype, and it was really nice. It was really nice to see people from across the country, and for that moment in time, you're not thinking about the situation that we have and before us. And through all of this, it's family and friends that will get you through, but you can also help family and friends get through it as well.
And that's a really good point, Mike. And I've been reading about like the human spirit and how the human spirit doesn't feel like it, but it has that resilience it has that desire to heal mentally and physically. So I'm no doctor, I know nothing, but I know that there's a lot of people out there expressing their concerns about how they're feeling and will this ever end, and what isolation and so forth. And so what Mike's just said might seem like very simple, generic tips, but they really are. I mean, I found myself one day feeling, a little lonely because we're not in front of each other. We're talking to each other through screens. And I found myself and I said, you know what I need to go through my contact list and see who I haven't talked to in a long time. And within 30 minutes, I had picked up my frame of mind and was back on route, back on par, working at what I needed to get done. So you're right.
Yeah, it is a time to connect with people and just even listen to other thoughts, other people rather. So it's and there's so much going on. There is information overload at times. I know, even working in the constituency and working with our constituents, we're getting about, like I say, 300 emails a day and approximately 100 calls a day. So there's 5 of us working, and I got a great staff, as I mentioned before. I can't speak highly enough of them. Professional, thoughtful, and just a work ethic that's amazing. And there are times when you're trying to get to as many people as you can within a certain time frame, because these are important times and people need help. And I know sometimes the day runs out on you, and you may not get to someone that following day, but we all have that on our plate. Everybody that's listening, watching, we all have things that are happening in our lives now, beyond COVID, and then you throw COVID on top of it. But shows like this, and other ways to communicate with each other, whether it's phone or Zoom or Microsoft Teams or text or Facebook or Twitter, they're all important during this time. And again, sadly, the history of mental health hasn't gotten the attention it deserves, in all levels of government, frankly, in terms of investments in mental health and mental health strategies and assistance and things of that nature. And I think, this government, future governments, provincial governments, municipal governments, I think one of the many learnings that we're going to get from COVID is the importance to have sound strategies around community health, regional health, country health, in terms of mental health, along with a whole host of other things we're seeing in terms of long-term healthcare strategies for long-term healthcare facilities. The vulnerable population has been vulnerable for some time, and now we see this through a magnified lens of what many of us have seen for some time. Is Canada is a country that has high moral virtue and values, and now we see that we need to do more, not just with COVID, but after COVID, whether it is seniors' health, youth health, basic income. We've talked about this before on the show. The CERB is a basic income, but long before CERB came, countries and regions within the countries have been talking about 10 and 15 years down the road, when automation takes over so many jobs, what are we going to do to ensure that people have a basic income? So COVID, in some ways, is ushering discussion pieces that we were going to have in 5 to 10 years. And now the human spirit, human innovation will, I think, rise to the occasion. We're seeing it again with the pursuit of vaccines, the pursuit of looking at creating ventilators fastly, efficiently, and tests and trace testing and individual testing for COVID. It's sort of the worst of times right now, but it's, to me, I get a sense that with this great sadness and with this great anxiety and this great virus, some major innovations are going to come from it. And my hope is that we can get through it, yesterday, to see all of that come to fruition. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I was going to ask you, while you were talking about exercise, Mike, what has been your favorite foods lately? What have you been cooking?
Well, there's a story here, and it's just me and you, right?
It is, yeah.
So I'm not much of a cook, I'm more of a sandwich guy. When I started dating my wife 22 years ago, I told her that I could cook. That was a lie. It was
first mistake. Yeah.
First mistake. Then I had to produce a meal, and of course I did the classic, get the frozen dinner and make it look like a meal. She was on to me right away. Yeah. It didn't pass the mustard. We are eating healthy right now as a family. I say more so than we did prior to COVID. Number one, we both work long hours. We would come home, do what we could to prepare something, eat, and go to bed. But now we have a little time to prepare. So, my wife is, certainly big into, Italian foods and things of that nature. And I help out. I get in the way sometimes, but I help out. So I like to say that
that's helping out.
Yeah, I like to say I'm an aficionado on meals, but I'm not. But I'm really good at eating them, and I think I could get a grade of A on eating them.
There you go. And that's what, just connecting like this and seeing and talking and hearing your voice, and this is a prime example, viewers, of what I was talking to so many people today. Encourage you to do is reach out, and we always put our number up there. If you are looking to connect with a resource that we can help with, definitely give us a call, 902-305-7833. Also, Mike is very good at posting his contact number for concerns, more specific concerns that you're looking to get answers for. So feel free to do that. So just rounding up the show here, Mike, do you have any updates for us? Any new initiatives or anything that has come forward or been announced? I noticed the wage subsidy for small businesses today was announced.
That's right.
That you can apply for that now.
That's right. That's a big one.
Listen on that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is.
I think over, if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to CERB, I'll start there. Over 8 million people have applied for CERB. I think we're closing in on 200,000 businesses that have already applied for the wage subsidy, which is significant. And then you look at on Saturday, with respect to our region, the government made a almost a $63 million investment into the Canadian Seafood Stabilization Fund to help retool the technologies and marketing efforts to meet the changes in consumer demand and storage and freezing facility, and in addition to PPE and other safety measures. And that is definitely for the processors. And I would say, again, to all the fishers that are out there, the harvesters, again, we're when it comes to my office right now, the full court press for the past 3 to 4 weeks has been working with DFO and the finance department to ensure that they hear the fishers, the harvesters, recommendations loud and clear in terms of the ability to fish and under health protocols, and also, again, what we've been producing in terms of recommendations consistently, full court press every week on the importance of measures to build on the CERB that seasonal workers can obtain. And folks, I'm talking about some type of an extended EI benefit for those that can't fish for health reasons, that can't fish for economic reasons. So 2 paths here: those that want to fish, and those that would like to look at other measures that could make up their mind to fish or not to fish. And that's not a government policy. That is certainly a recommendation that the recommendations that I've heard from Canso to Glace Bay, to Shetty Camp, back to Guysborough. So again, it's been an honor to. Somebody said to me, actually, a few people have said to me that I tend to be at a lot of these fisher meetings across the riding, and I think we're at 48 now in the past 4 weeks, because I want to hear what's happening on the ground, and honestly, there are there's a lot of worry, there's a lot of anxiety out there, whether it's from a health perspective or from a market perspective, and so as your MP, I want to put out crystal clear what I'm hearing in Guysborough and Harvey-Boucher, and I also want to present what I'm hearing in the other part of the Gulf in Shetty Camp, and on the east side of the island from Arishet to Glace Bay. So again, this is just me saying, what an education. My grandfather was a fisherman. Most of his boys, quite frankly, were fishermen. And, I like to say it's in my blood. I've been on a fishing boat twice, and both not for fishing, just, on tours. But I really got a sense of and a history lesson and a tutorial in the past 4 weeks. And it's something I'm forever grateful for.
No, likewise with myself. I did not know what actually was entailed in the day in the life of being a lobster fisherman. So I can't thank everyone enough for putting up with my phone calls and my questions and my constant inquiries. So it's good. Is there anything you want to close off, Mike, with our viewers? I know you're in the middle of a very busy week heading into the 1st of May, and there's daily new updates every day. Is there anything that you'd like to close off with?
Well, actually, today was an historic day for Canada, and I was a part of it, which was pretty cool. We held our first virtual parliament today, and it was more of a exhibition. Tomorrow is our first virtual parliament session. That's the first time in the history of Canada that parliament is happening in a different way other than face-to-face. So people will be able to check that out on Parliamentary TV or CPAC tomorrow. And so that's just a kind of more of a history thing from a history nerd. But just to say, keep doing what we're doing. I know it's, getting warmer other than the snowfall tomorrow. The walls may be closing in at you at times, but, at the first part of this conversation, we talked about ways to try to mitigate, feeling isolated, feeling alone. You're not alone. And you have people via Ripple FX. You have myself in my office. You have family. You have friends. You have colleagues. You have support mechanisms, both that are offered provincially and federally. And again, it's not just 50-cent words here. It's not hokum. It's we are in this together. Be kind to each other. be patient with each other. I know it's very, very easy to get angry at this moment, and I get why many are, and I feel that. But when it comes to, for example, government programs coming out, the amount of programs we're pumping out right now is unprecedented, and we know that there's much, much more to do. And so, for those that are not are falling through the cracks, I hear you, and I see you, and I'm doing everything I can to help you.
Well, we want to thank you, Mike. I know exhausted is probably not the word that undermines a lot, because in these past couple of weeks, I know a lot of the leaders in the community have come forward also to show their support for Colchester. Absolutely. And just want to thank you, because sometimes leadership speaks ahead of those of us that just don't have the words to put into place right now. So got some nice comments on the side from Cyril. Thanks, Mike. Nice to know you're listening and working for harvesters and their concerns. So, and as we've always been transparent, Ripple Effects isn't about the answers so much as it is just a platform for voice and bringing things to the table. So thank you very much, Mike, for coming on this evening. And I hope you get some rest tonight. Okay, well, thank you. And same to you. And thanks to your viewers, and check out Ripple FX. I love this platform, Rebecca, and what you're doing. And I know a lot of people that I talk to that watch it are impressed, but also I'm telling a lot of people to come on this show. Yes. Yeah, that'd be great. It connects us, and I'm learning. We're all learning so much daily about each other, so it's good. Absolutely. This is Rebecca with Ripple Effects Canada, Ripple Effects Cape Breton, and your local MP for Canso Causeway, Mike Kelloway. Thank you, Mike, for joining us this evening. This is the official end of the broadcast. Thank you.